Hi folks, this is Arlene once again. Here's something I'm going to discuss with you. It's how to fix the cracks and splits in your carvings if you happen to have that problem. Some of us have that problem from time to time depending what type of wood we use. I'll try to make this as brief. I'll try to do it in 1 or 2 videos here. We're going to divert away from finishing this up right away until I have this other problem fixed. But meanwhile, I noticed that this particular piece was starting to check and to start cracking here and there. And I started to wood burn his nose a little bit, and I kind of try to sand that off. So that's not cracks right there. It's the crack going across. You see it? Let me show you what I'm dealing with here. To my dismay, I looked at this, and there's a couple factors I think contributed to it. See the cracks all in here? Okay, there's several of them around. I'm going to show you my method, or what I researched and found to work pretty good that I tried on something else here on how to fix it. First of all, you need some Elmer's glue. And before I start this, I want to explain something to you really kind of quickly. I spray this with the alcohol and water content, and usually I don't have a problem with it. I did a lot of the baby chicks for Easter. I did about 8 of them at Easter time. I would spray the outside, put it in a plastic bag, and had no problem with it after that. This particular piece, I had one other piece in all the series that I've been doing this in a year, was the angel, the hobo angel. I had the same thing with the wings. The top of the wings was the grain end. Like, this is the grain end on this side, and same thing with this on this side. And that's where it's checking on either side here. My original thought was to go ahead and burn all the hair, the fur in and all that. I'm going to forego that. I didn't want to just toss the whole thing aside, and I thought maybe we could learn from my mistakes, and that you don't do the same thing, but maybe give you some clues or some ways to avoid the checking. First of all, you need to buy a piece of wood that's already good and dry. My supplier usually has a good supply of wood. It's not his fault, okay? It just happens to be the 2 pieces that I started with, and usually in the last 30 years that I've carved, I've only had a couple of things really check. I usually do everything in dry wood, but since I found the method with the alcohol and water, it can get you into some trouble if you overuse it. So some factors that I found was, number 1, each project had a lot of work on the end grains as part of the carving. Instead of out here, it was on the end. I found each of the pieces, the angel and this piece, a tougher, for some reason it was just a tougher piece to carve. And because of that, I sprayed the outside, put it in a plastic bag, and it cut like butter the next day. And then it got a little tough again, so I sprayed it again, threw it back in the bag. And I don't think that was as much the problem. The problem, I think, was when I was working on the end grain itself and trying to get the detail in the face, I might have overdone it, because when you spray it, it gets soaked up faster on the end to go into the wood than it would be from the side. So if you have a piece that you're spraying, just do it lightly. Try not to overdo it. And if it does check, learn from experience what can work and can't work. Like I'm saying, I'm not blaming the wood. I'm not blaming the alcohol and water, the rubbing alcohol and water content. I am blaming maybe I put too much on. But the pieces were really tough for me to carve. And if you listen to the last 12 segments that I did on this piece, yeah, I kept saying it was a tougher piece. But it's also where I was carving. And also because I was basically working on the end grains and letting it dry way too quickly. And that's what causes it to split. Did some experimentation on it, did some research on it, and this is what I found. I'm going to show you how I take care of this. So first of all, you need to find if you want to use regular wood filler, you can. I'm going to use something I saw online. I used this stuff, which is down at my bandsaw. There's plenty of this basswood sawdust. And then I'm just going to use regular Elmer's glue. This is what I have available now. I would recommend maybe the other stuff, the carpenter glue might be a little bit better, but for the sake of showing you how to do this, and I did a couple of spots before and I had no problem with it. What you're going to do, and if I can bring some extra light here a little bit closer, I actually mixed the two, and I tried to use crazy glue. It was way too fast. It got hard before I even got it in the holes. But how do you get it in these spots? Okay, so it pains me to do this, but I'm gonna do it because I don't have a choice. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my little gouge, my flat one, and I'm gonna put it in here, and I'm just gonna wedge a little deeper cut. Okay, just gonna wedge that open. I'm going to do that on all the holes that I see, or the slits that I see all over the carving. Because I'm going to paint it without doing the wood burning and just painting, it will be fine. It will blend right in there. If you burn after you mix this stuff and put it in, it's going to be, you're going to see the difference because it's going to be a softer portion of the wood. I'll be back. I'm going to keep going with this in the next segment.